You don't have a people problem, you have a mind problem. Because people can only affect you for a few seconds, but your mind can turn that moment into hours of overthinking. One word, one look, one small situation, and suddenly your peace is gone. You were calm just a moment ago, and now your thoughts won't stop. Your chest feels heavy. Your mind keeps replaying, and something inside you feels disturbed. You think they did this to you, but look deeper. They spoke once, and your mind kept repeating it again and again. That's where the real control is happening, not outside, but inside you. They didn't enter your mind. You opened the door, and your mind did the rest. And if you don't see this today, you will keep losing your peace without even knowing why. But once you understand this, you stop reacting, you take your mind back, and everything begins to change. You were never controlled. You just believed. The meaning, your mind, created. No one is sitting there controlling your mind. No one has that kind of power over you, but it feels like they do. And that's where the confusion begins. Someone says something small, just a few words, and suddenly your mood changes. Someone looks at you differently, and something inside you becomes uncomfortable. Someone replies late, and your mind starts creating questions. And before you even notice, your peace is gone. But look carefully. Did they really do something powerful? Or did your mind turn something small into something heavy? Because what they did was just an event, a moment, a few seconds. But your mind didn't stop there. It took that moment and gave it a meaning. It started saying, something is wrong. It started saying, they don't respect you. It started saying, maybe you're not important. And the moment that meaning appeared, everything changed. Your body reacted. Your emotions shifted. Your thoughts became louder. Not because of what actually happened, but because of what your mind said it meant. And the most important part is this: you didn't stop it. You didn't question it. You didn't ask, is this really true? Or is this just my mind reacting? You just believed it. Instantly, silently, without even realizing. Your mind created a story, and you stepped inside it as if it was real. You didn't see the story being built. You only felt the emotion it created. And once you feel something strongly, it becomes very hard to doubt it. So you stay inside that story. You think about it again and again. You replay the moment. You add more thoughts to it. And slowly, something small becomes something big. This is how control begins. Not from people, not from the outside, but from the meaning you accept inside without question. Because the truth is, people don't control your mind. They only trigger a moment. Your mind does the rest. And the moment you start seeing this clearly, something powerful happens. You stop reacting so quickly. You stop believing everything instantly. You create a small space between what happens and what you think it means. And in that small space, your freedom begins. Your mind is quietly searching for triggers to keep itself alive. Your mind does not enjoy stillness the way you think it should. It does not naturally rest in silence. In fact, silence feels uncomfortable to it, almost like something is missing, because in silence there is nothing for it to hold, nothing to fix, nothing to react to, and without something to engage with, the mind feels like it is losing its purpose. So even when your life is calm, even when nothing is actually wrong, your mind begins to search. It scans your past, it replays conversations, it remembers a tone, a look, a small detail that did not even matter at the time, and it brings it back into the present as if it is important right now. It does not wait for real problems to appear. It quietly creates something to focus on, because it cannot sit in emptiness. You could be sitting peacefully, doing nothing, and suddenly a thought appears about something that happened hours ago or even days ago. At first it seems small, almost harmless, but your mind does not leave it there. It starts building around it. It adds meaning. It connects it with other thoughts. It brings in old memories, and slowly that one small thought becomes something that feels heavy and real. And the strange part is, you don't notice the moment it begins. You only notice when you are already inside it, when your mood has changed, when your body feels tense, when your peace is already disturbed. You think something external caused it, but in reality, nothing new happened. Your mind simply found something and started feeding it. This is why you can feel stressed even in a quiet room, why you can feel uneasy even when everything is fine, why your mind can create pressure out of nothing. It is not reacting to life as much as you think. It is constantly trying to stay active, constantly trying to keep itself busy, even if that activity creates discomfort inside you. And the more you follow these thoughts, the more you engage with them, the more you give them your attention, the stronger this pattern becomes. Your mind learns that every time it brings something up, you will follow it, you will believe it, you will react to it. So it keeps doing it again and again, turning it into a habit that feels automatic. But the moment you start seeing this clearly, the moment you notice that your mind is searching, not because something is wrong, but because it cannot stay still, something begins to shift. You stop taking every thought so seriously. You stop assuming that everything your mind brings is important. And slowly, very slowly, silence stops feeling uncomfortable. It starts feeling peaceful, because now your mind is not constantly pulling you into something. Now you can sit in a moment without needing it to become something else. And in that stillness, you begin to feel a kind of calm that was always there, but you could never see it because your mind was too busy trying to escape it. You are letting temporary people occupy permanent space in your mind. Most people enter your life for a moment, not forever. They speak a few words, they behave in a certain way, they pass through your day, and then they move on with their own lives. For them, it was just a small interaction, something that came and went without much weight. But inside your mind, that same moment does not end. It continues, it repeats, it grows. You sit alone later, and without even trying, your mind brings them back. It replays what they said, how they said it, what their face looked like, what you think they meant. And then it begins to add more. It starts imagining things that were never even said. It creates conversations that never happened. It builds meanings that were never clear. Slowly, that one short moment becomes something much bigger than it ever was. And while they have already moved forward, your mind is still holding on to them. You give them time, attention, energy. You carry their words into your thoughts, their behavior into your emotions, their presence into moments where they are not even there anymore. Without realizing it, you make them part of your inner world. This is where something very important is happening. You are taking something temporary and turning it into something permanent. Not because it actually is, but because you keep revisiting it. You keep reopening it. You keep giving it life every time you think about it again. Your mind becomes a place where people stay longer than they ever should. A few seconds of interaction turns into hours of thinking. A small moment turns into a heavy feeling. And the more you hold on to it, the more real it begins to feel, as if it has some deep meaning or importance. But the truth is simple and often hard to accept. Most of these moments were never as important as your mind makes them. Most people are not thinking about you as much as you think about them. They are busy with their own thoughts, their own concerns, their own lives. The only place where they are still present is inside your mind. And this is where your energy quietly drains, because every time you bring them back, You are giving your attention to something that is no longer happening. You are investing your peace into something that already ended. You are carrying something that was never meant to stay. When you start seeing this clearly, you begin to understand that the problem is not people entering your life. That will always happen. The real problem is not knowing when to let them leave your mind, because not everyone deserves that space. Not every moment deserves to be remembered again and again. Not every interaction deserves to stay inside you. And when you finally learn to let these moments pass without holding on to them, when you stop replaying and rebuilding what is already gone, your mind begins to feel lighter. There is less noise, less weight, less unnecessary thinking. You start to feel a quiet kind of freedom, not because people changed, but because you stopped giving them a place inside you that they were never meant to keep. You trust every thought instantly, and that is where control begins. A thought appears in your mind, and before you even notice it, you believe it. There is no pause, no space, no moment where you step back and ask what this thought really is. It feels automatic, almost natural, as if every thought that comes into your mind must be true. And this is where something very subtle but very powerful begins to happen. Your mind produces thoughts all the time. Some are useful, some are random, and many are simply reactions shaped by your past experiences, your fears, your habits, and the way you have learned to see the world. But because they appear inside your own mind, they feel personal, they feel real, and, most importantly, they feel trustworthy. So when a thought says that someone disrespected you, you feel hurt without questioning it. When a thought says something is wrong, you feel anxious, as if danger is real. When a thought tells you that you are not enough, you feel low without asking where that idea came from. The thought speaks, and you follow. The thought suggests, and you accept. And all of this happens so quickly that you don't even see the process. But here is the deeper truth that most people never notice. A thought is not a fact. It is not a final truth. It is just a mental event that appears and disappears. It is a possibility, an interpretation, a reaction, not a clear reflection of reality. Yet, because you trust it instantly, it begins to shape how you feel, how you see others, and how you respond to the world around you. This is where control begins, not because the thought is powerful on its own, but because of the authority you give it. The moment you believe a thought without looking at it, you hand over your emotional state to it. Your peace, your mood, your reactions all start following something that was never fully examined. And once that happens, your mind no longer feels like something you observe. It feels like something that is leading you. You begin to react instead of respond. You begin to assume instead of understand. You begin to feel things deeply without knowing whether they are even true. And over time, this creates a pattern where your entire inner world is shaped by thoughts that were never questioned in the first place. But the moment you slow down, even slightly, something begins to change. When a thought appears and you don't immediately follow it, when you look at it instead of becoming it, you create a small gap. In that gap, you start to see that the thought is just something passing through, not something you must accept. You begin to ask simple but powerful questions. Is this really true? Or is this just my mind reacting? Is this a fact? Or is this a story I am telling myself? And in that moment of awareness, the thought loses some of its control. It is no longer something that commands you. It becomes something you can observe. And as you continue to practice this, your relationship with your mind changes completely. You stop trusting every thought instantly. You stop reacting to every idea that appears. You become more steady, more clear, more grounded. Because now, your mind is no longer leading you blindly. You are the one who decides what to believe. You hand your self-worth to people who never held that responsibility. without even realizing it, you slowly begin to place your worth in the hands of other people. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments, in quiet ways, in reactions you don't question. Someone appreciates you, and you feel valuable. Someone ignores you, and something inside you drops. Someone gives you attention, and you feel complete. Someone pulls away, and you feel like something is missing. At first, it feels normal. It feels like this is just how life works. But look deeper, because something important is happening. Your sense of who you are is no longer coming from within you. It is being shaped by how others behave toward you. Their words, their tone, their consistency, their approval, all of it starts deciding how you see yourself. And the problem is, people are not stable. Their moods change, their attention shifts, their behavior is influenced by things you don't even see. They have their own struggles, their own thoughts, their own distractions. Yet you begin to tie your inner state to something that is constantly changing. This is where the quiet loss begins. You start adjusting yourself to keep that external approval. You think more about what to say, how to act, how to be liked, how to avoid rejection. You become more careful, more tense, more aware of how others might see you. And slowly, without noticing, you stop being natural. You begin to overthink simple interactions. You replay conversations, wondering if you said the right thing. You wait for responses and feel uneasy when they don't come. You measure your value based on how much attention you receive. And all of this creates a constant pressure inside you, a feeling that you have to maintain something just to feel okay. But here is the truth that changes everything. Your worth was never meant to be given away like this. It was never meant to depend on people who are also uncertain, also changing, also trying to figure themselves out. When you place your worth outside, you give others a power they were never supposed to have. And once they have that power, your peace becomes unstable. One moment you feel good, the next moment you don't, all based on something external. You begin to live in reaction instead of stability. You begin to chase feelings instead of resting in them. But the moment you start taking your worth back, something begins to shift. You stop needing constant validation. You stop looking for signs that you matter. You begin to feel a quiet strength that is not easily shaken by someone's behavior. You still interact with people, you still care, you still connect, but you are no longer dependent. Their actions no longer define you. Their attention no longer controls your state. And in that shift, something powerful returns to you. A sense of steadiness, a sense of clarity, a sense that who you are is not something that can be increased or reduced by someone else's opinion, because your worth was never theirs to hold in the first place. Your mind turns neutral moments into silent personal attacks. Most of the time, nothing is actually wrong, but your mind doesn't stay with what is real. It starts adding something to it. A simple moment happens, something small, something neutral, and your mind begins to interpret it in a way that makes it personal. Someone is quiet, and your mind tells you they are upset with you. Someone replies differently than usual, and your mind says something has changed. Someone doesn't respond the way you expected, and your mind quietly suggests that you are being ignored or disrespected. And all of this feels real, not because it is true, but because your mind presents it in a convincing way. It speaks in a tone that feels certain. It doesn't say maybe. It says, this is what it means, so you believe it. And the moment you believe it, your emotions begin to follow. You feel uncomfortable, uneasy, maybe even hurt. Your energy shifts, your thoughts become heavier, and something that was neutral now feels negative. But if you step back and look clearly, you will see something important. The moment itself was simple. It did not carry that weight. It did not contain that meaning. Your mind added it afterward. And this is something it does again and again. It takes incomplete information and fills the gaps with assumptions. It takes silence and turns it into rejection. It takes distance and turns it into something personal. It connects things that are not connected and creates a story that feels believable. But most of the time, people are not thinking about you in the way your mind suggests. They are dealing with their own thoughts, their own concerns, their own situations that you know nothing about. Their behavior is often about them, not about you. Yet your mind places you at the center of everything. And because of that, you begin to carry emotions that were never necessary. You react to things that were never directed at you. You feel affected by situations that had nothing to do with you in the first place. Over time, this becomes exhausting. Not because people are constantly attacking you, but because your mind is constantly interpreting things as if they are. And this creates a world that feels heavier than it actually is. But the moment you start noticing this pattern, something begins to change. When a situation happens and your mind tries to turn it into something personal, you begin to pause. You begin to question it. You begin to see that this is just one possible interpretation, not the truth. And in that awareness, the weight starts to drop. You no longer take everything to heart. You no longer assume the worst without reason. You begin to see moments for what they are: simple, incomplete, neutral. And as you stop turning everything into something about you, your mind becomes quieter, your reactions become softer, and your peace becomes stronger. Because now, you are no longer fighting things that were never meant to hurt you. You are not stuck. You are addicted to the emotional reaction loop. It feels like you can't stop it. The same reactions keep happening again and again. The same triggers affect you. The same kind of situations pull you into the same emotions. And after a while, it starts to feel like this is just who you are. Like you are naturally sensitive, naturally reactive, naturally stuck in this pattern. But look deeper, because what feels like being stuck is often something else. It is a loop. Your mind gets triggered by something small, then a thought appears, then you follow that thought, and then an emotion rises. That emotion might be stress, hurt, anger, overthinking, or insecurity. And once you feel it, your mind holds onto it. It starts feeding it with more thoughts, more memories, more imagined situations, until the feeling becomes stronger. Then slowly it fades, until the next trigger comes, and the same process repeats. Over time, this loop becomes familiar. It becomes something your mind recognizes. Even if it is uncomfortable, it feels known. And what is known feels normal, even when it is not peaceful. So your mind keeps returning to it. Not because it wants to harm you, but because it has learned this pattern so well that it continues it automatically. It has practiced reacting so many times that reacting has become its default way of functioning. This is why you feel like you can't stop, because you are not dealing with one moment. You are dealing with a habit that has been repeated many times. And habits feel powerful. They feel like part of your identity, but they are not who you are. They are just patterns that have been reinforced again and again. And here is the part that changes everything. Your mind is not only reacting, it is also attached to the feeling that comes with that reaction. Even negative emotions carry a certain intensity, a certain movement, a certain sense of engagement. They pull you in, they give your mind something to focus on, something to process, something to hold, and without realizing it, your mind starts to rely on that. It becomes used to that emotional activity. So even when there is peace, your mind feels restless. It feels like something is missing. It looks for something to react to, something to feel, something to bring back that familiar intensity. And this is why you keep going back into the loop, not because you are weak and not because you are broken, but because your mind has been trained to live in reaction. The more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. But the moment you begin to notice the loop while it is happening, something begins to shift. You see the trigger, you notice the thought, you feel the emotions starting to rise. And instead of jumping into it completely, you stay aware. You don't try to fight it, and you don't try to escape it. You simply see it for what it is, a pattern that is playing out. And in that awareness, the loop begins to lose its strength, because it needs your full involvement to continue. It needs you to believe the thought, to follow it, to feed it. And when you stop doing that, even slightly, the pattern weakens. Slowly, your reactions become softer. The intensity reduces. The time you spend inside the loop becomes shorter. And one day, something that once controlled you begins to feel distant, because now you are no longer inside the loop. You are watching it. And that is where real change begins. The moment you stop reacting instantly, their power over you collapses. Most of your reactions do not come from what actually happened. They come from how fast you respond to it. Something small occurs, and before you even understand it, your mind jumps in with a meaning, your body follows with an emotion, and you react as if everything is already clear. This speed feels natural to you, but this is exactly where control is created. When you react instantly, you don't give yourself time to see what is real. You don't give yourself space to understand what actually happened. You simply follow the first thought your mind presents, and that thought immediately shapes your feeling and your behavior. In that moment, you are not choosing your response. You are being carried by it. And this is why people seem to have power over you. Not because they are controlling you directly, but because your instant reaction gives their actions a deeper impact than they deserve. A few words, a small behavior, a simple moment becomes something big only because you responded without pause. But something very powerful happens the moment you slow this down. When something happens and you don't react immediately, when you allow even a few seconds of space before following the thought, you begin to see things differently. You start to notice that your first thought is not always accurate. You begin to realize that your mind is adding meaning too quickly, and not all of it is true. In that pause, you are no longer inside the reaction. You are observing it. You can see the thought forming instead of becoming it. You can feel the emotion rising without being overwhelmed by it. You begin to understand that there are multiple ways to see the same moment, and the one your mind chose first is not the only one. This changes everything, because now, instead of reacting, you can choose. You can choose to stay calm instead of becoming tense. You can choose to let something pass instead of holding on to it. You can choose to understand instead of assuming. And these choices break the automatic pattern that once controlled you. The power people seem to have over you begins to fade, not because they changed, but because you are no longer giving instant reactions that amplify their influence. Their words remain just words. Their actions remain just actions. They no longer turn into something bigger inside you. And as you practice this more, your mind begins to slow down naturally. You don't feel the need to react to everything. You don't feel pulled into every thought. You begin to experience a quiet stability where things happen around you, but they don't disturb you the same way. You start to feel in control, not in a forceful way, but in a calm and steady way, because now there is space between what happens and how you respond. And in that space, no one has power over you anymore. Real peace begins when you close the door your mind keeps leaving open. Peace is not something you find somewhere outside. It is not waiting in a place, or in a person, or in a perfect situation. It is something that quietly exists within you, but it gets disturbed again and again because of what you allow to enter your mind. Most of the time, the door of your mind is always open. Every word, every opinion, every small action from others is allowed to come in. You listen to everything, you absorb everything, you carry everything. Someone speaks carelessly, and you keep it. Someone behaves differently, and you hold on to it. Someone gives you a look, and your mind starts working on it for hours. Without realizing it, you are not just experiencing life, you are collecting it. You are storing moments that were never meant to stay, and each one adds a little more weight inside you. And this is why your mind feels heavy, not because too much is happening, but because too much is being kept. You were never meant to hold everything. Not every word deserves your attention. Not every action deserves your reaction. Not every person deserves space inside your mind. But when the door is always open, everything enters without permission. Your mind becomes crowded, noisy, and restless. Even when you are alone, it does not feel quiet, because it is filled with things you never needed to keep. Real peace begins the moment you understand this clearly. You start becoming more aware of what you allow inside. You begin to notice when something unnecessary is trying to stay in your thoughts, and instead of holding on to it, you let it pass. You don't follow every thought. You don't react to every moment. You don't give meaning to everything you see or hear. You begin to choose. And this choice is powerful, because now your mind is no longer a place where everything is allowed to stay. It becomes a space you protect, a space you keep clean, calm, and clear. You still see people. You still hear things. You still live your life fully. But you are no longer carrying everything with you. You allow moments to come, and then you allow them to go. You stop turning small things into long thoughts. You stop reopening what is already finished. You stop giving space to what does not deserve it. And slowly, your mind begins to feel different. Lighter, quieter, more peaceful. Not because the world changed, but because you changed what you allow inside you. And in that shift, something beautiful happens. You realize that peace was never far away. It was always there, waiting for you to stop letting everything disturb it. The moment you close the door, your mind keeps leaving open. You stop being affected by everything around you, and you begin to feel a deep, steady calm that does not depend on anyone else. And that is where real peace begins. And now, if you look back at everything you've just seen, something becomes very clear. It was never about people. It was never about what they said, what they did, or how they behaved. It was about what entered your mind and what you allowed to stay. For so long, you thought peace would come when people change, when situations improve, when everything outside becomes calm. But real peace begins in a much quieter place. It begins the moment you stop giving your mind away so easily. It begins when you stop believing every thought, stop reacting to every moment, stop holding on to everything that was never meant to stay. And slowly, something inside you starts to settle. Your thoughts become softer, your reactions become slower, your mind becomes quieter. Not because life became perfect, but because you are no longer letting everything disturb you. You start to feel a different kind of strength, a calm that does not need control, a silence that does not feel empty, a presence that is not easily shaken. And in that state, people lose the ability to affect you the way they once did. Not because you became distant, but because you became aware, and that awareness protects you. So from this moment, be more careful with your mind. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your energy. And not everything deserves a place inside you. Let things come and let them go. Stay present, stay aware, and stay still. Because the more you protect your inner space, the more you return to yourself. And in that return, you don't just find control, you find peace.